Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final of our three-part series of Fitness for Farm Life. I'm Julie Strauser. I'm a program assistant with OSU Extension's Agricultural Natural Resources Department. And if you happen to miss the first two sessions, they are available for replay, and we will provide you with that website. But to get us started, I'm going to go ahead and turn this right over to Dr. Dee Jepson. She is an associate professor with our college, and she is also our state specialist for ag safety. And if that's not enough, she's also the program director for AgriAbility. So she wears lots of hats, is a busy lady, and a pleasure to work with. So Dee, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Great, thank you, Julie. Yes, our last session for Fitness for Farm Life. And as we pull up the slides for tonight, if you happen to miss any of our earlier versions, we have those pre-recorded, and we're going to share with you later how to get a hold of those and to watch those at the end. But tonight's session will be on specifically health, wellness, and chronic pain management, because which farmer or gardener doesn't have chronic pain and would like to do a better job managing that? So Andrew, are you pulling up our slides for us tonight? Tonight we also have two trainers that you may have met earlier if you were part of our program. Andrew Kramer just received his master's in public health, and Dr. Leah Schwinn just received her occupational therapy degree. And so both of them have been working with us over the course of the last maybe 8 months to put together some of these presentations, and that you're getting to see the results of those. But before we get into tonight's presentation, I just want to take a short pause and just talk to you a little bit about AgriAbility, and we are hosting this webinar. AgriAbility is a statewide program, and it's kind of that health side of what we do in agriculture, safety, and health. Our mission is to promote success in agriculture for Ohio farmers with a disability or a long-term health condition. But we go much broader than that. Many of our resources reach the rural landowners, gardeners, agricultural businesses, educators, and other disability professionals that are just interested in making farming safer and more accessible. Our program tonight, Fitness for Farm Life, was born out of the need to provide farmers, gardeners, and other agriculture workers with resources to maintain a healthy and safe lifestyle while they're at work. The goal of our program is to show how you can take some small steps to care for your body, add a little bit of physical health, a little bit of mental well-being, and in turn it can really improve and preserve our physical abilities and our daily jobs. Tonight's presentation, like I said, is kind of adding to what we talked about before to give you some skills and some knowledge to help you with your daily workload and to manage some of your pain and get you through those tasks of farming or gardening. We know that wellness and well-being is a major component of our natural lifestyle, and so we ended with it tonight as part of our series, because a lot of the concepts that you're going to get are corroborated by the health research or by health professionals. So when we think about how we outline this Fitness for Farm Life program, we put it into 5 categories: body mechanics, safe lifting, exercises and stretching. All of those were addressed in earlier webinars. So tonight we're going to focus on the last 2, health and wellness and chronic pain management. When we started this project, it was about a year ago, we had 2 students that had an interest in this topic, and over the course of this series, you had a chance to meet both of them. Well, tonight they're going to perform together for our last session, and without further ado, I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and their interest in the project and a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to roll right into the fitness. So get ready, and Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Dr. Jepson. Really excited for tonight's presentation, excited to be on with Leah, and excited to get this content out to you. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in York County. That's where I am right now. I graduated from the University of Dayton with a degree in exercise physiology, and I just graduated from Ohio State with my master's in public health. I grew up in Darke County, grew up around farming. We didn't run a farm from my house, but right next door, my grandpa, who you can see in the top right there, he farmed, and he just retired a year ago, but I have always helped him and really enjoyed being around the farm. It's definitely part of the culture in Darke County. And so the combination of exercise, public health, and agriculture have kind of all come together for me in this presentation, and for my co-presenter here today, Leah.
Hi everyone, my name is Leah Schwinn and I'll be presenting alongside Andrew this evening. A little background on me: I grew up on and live on a grain farm in Lorain County. I completed my undergraduate degree at Ohio State within the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences, and then recently graduated from Ohio State's College of Medicine with my doctorate in occupational therapy. So as an occupational therapist, I focus on prevention of injury and disease through wellness principles and an in-depth understanding of how our bodies are made and work. And I also help those with acute or chronic conditions regain their independence. So I'm excited to chat with all of you today, along with Andrew, about some simple yet powerful concepts and strategies to help you take care of your health. So let's dive right in. Our first topic tonight focuses on health, wellness, and fitness. The aim of this section is to target how we can best care for our bodies to ensure they age nicely with us, as we all strive to remain active as we age. So why we felt this was such an important topic to discuss tonight: it's no secret that prioritizing health and wellness has a positive effect on our daily lives and the mental and physical aspects of our bodies. So yes, farming and agricultural labor are intensive and hard jobs, but by adjusting our lifestyles to incorporate techniques and principles that focus on health, wellness, and fitness, we can better arm ourselves for the hard, laborious tasks that come from working with the ground or livestock. You work hard and you deserve to feel good. So as we age, it becomes increasingly important to take good care of our bodies to preserve the health of our muscles as much as possible. The peak muscle strength of our bodies occurs for most of us in our 20s and all the way up to 30, with a slow and steady decline after that, as you can see in this chart. By the age of 65, you will have lost 20 to 40% of your muscle strength. A large part of this is just as we age, you have a whole bunch of fibers that make up your muscles, and the number of those fibers start to decrease. So your muscles sort of get smaller and weaker. This muscle loss, however, doesn't mean you need to stop using your muscles. It just means that you need to be smart in the way you use them. So that takes us back to the body mechanics and safe lifting that we talked about in the first part of this series. And then we also want to look forward: how can we preserve them through prioritizing fitness, which I'll get into in a moment. So as we begin to dive into physical activity or exercise, we want to know why this is important. Physical exercise continually tops health research as being the answer to a lot of our nation's health problems. Two big areas it impacts our mind and body in very scientific ways. Physical exercise improves our mental well-being, as when you exercise, your body releases happy hormones into your bloodstream. Physical exercise also keeps our bodies physically fit as we age. That muscle loss that I talked about earlier on the previous slide, where our muscle fibers decrease in numbers as we age, in combination with improved nutrition, physical exercise is the key way to slow or even stop, in some cases, this muscle loss. These physical activity guidelines on this slide are from the U.S. Department of Health, recommending roughly averaging 3 to 5 hours of physical activity a week for all age groups and abilities. Some of you may even get this in just one day rather than a week, depending on your workload or what season we are in, but some may not, especially for those of you who spend a lot of time driving or sitting at a computer desk. This time for physical activity needs to be blocked off every week. In the agricultural world, a slow time for a lot of us may be in the winter months, and that's when we need to really focus on blocking off time. So what is considered physical activity? Well, we learned that we need roughly 3 to 5 hours of it per week. This is broken up into two categories of moderate intensity and vigorous intensity. Moderate intensity is where your breathing rate is slightly increased. So this may be activities where Instead of just sitting, you're up, you're moving around, you're walking a field, doing some light yard work or housework, fixing fence, cleaning equipment, something that gets your body moving but doesn't exhaust you. During this moderate intensity exercise, it is still manageable to hold a conversation. Our bodies need at least 2.5 to 5 hours of these types of activities per week. On the other hand, vigorous intensity is a step up from this. For these activities, your heart rate and breathing rate are increased to a level that makes it hard to hold a conversation, right? You're so out of breath that you can't, string a whole bunch of sentences together as you're talking with someone. And this vigorous intensity is often where people find themselves falling short of the recommended amount of 1.25 to 2.5 hours of this per week. Examples of this type of vigorous exercise would be higher intensity activities such as baling hay, lifting heavy objects, fast walking, running, those sorts of things. While some of you may think that because you're on your feet a lot throughout the day, moving around, then you must be meeting your physical activity requirement. However, how much of that time truly has your heart rate and breathing rate increased? This requires us to take a hard and critical look at our daily lives and schedules and be honest with ourselves about how much of that time is spent where our breathing is to a rate where it's hard to hold a conversation.
Absolutely. And just as important as our physical wellness is our mental wellness. And stress these days, and especially in the agricultural world, comes in many shapes and forms. It can be financial stress, thinking ahead to the future. It can be just the weather, whether we're going to have a bunch of rainy days in a row like today, changing government regulations and policies, the well-being of your crops and livestock, and for everyone right now, what the future is going to look like, and making sure that you and your family stay healthy. So it's important with all these stressors to have something that relaxes you. It's important to have a positive outlet. And beyond the physical, like Leah has talked about, obviously physical exercise can be a great outlet. You can see this brain lifting some weights there. Having something that relaxes you, for a lot of people it can be prayer or meditation, exercise, as I just said, and even breathing exercises throughout the day can be very relaxing. It is important that these outlets, these positive things, are better outlets than maybe watching TV, eating, or even drinking after a long and stressful day. These negative kind of coping mechanisms are okay on occasion, but if they become a habit, it's not as healthy as one of these positive habits like prayer, meditation, exercise, or even just slowing down and taking a deep breath. Another important part of mental wellness is the way that you think and the way that we all think. Because the way that we think affects the way we feel, and the way we feel drives our behaviors. So an example of this chain is when something small breaks. It's really easy to think, great, it's broken, and you kind of get upset about it, you let it bleed into other things, and you rush your chores, you rush your work, and maybe you're even short with the people around you. Instead of that, you can see kind of the silver lining. So a positive thought chain would kind of look something like, well, at least it's a small tool, or it's not that big of a problem, easily replaced. And as a result of thinking that positive initial thought, you're not nearly as aggravated, and your behavior, you can be more clear-minded. You can make a plan on how to move forward best. I know today I actually had a very stressful day, and so during the middle of it, when I messed something up, I thought, well, you know what? It's actually only an easy fix, and as a result, I didn't mess the next one up. I did what I needed to do, and I moved on. And so it's just something to stay conscious of as we all kind of deal with frustration and annoyances in our everyday lives, that you don't have to let those things snowball. I don't have to let those things snowball. We don't have to let those things snowball. We can have a really positive thought chain.
So as Andrew mentioned, focusing on breathing can be a major part of mental wellness and a great relaxer. So breathing, not a new concept for any of us. It's something that we do constantly, naturally, and subconsciously all day, every day. On average, adult humans take about 10,000 breaths a day. So you're all probably thinking that you're experts in this category. But what happens if we start to pay attention to our breath and really focus on this bodily function that keeps us all alive? The problem for a lot of us is that we breathe only using the top 1/3 of our lungs, or we take shallow breaths. When we do this, we are only delivering a small amount of oxygen to our bloodstream. So as we get stressed in our daily lives, rushing around to get everything done, we are more likely to do this kind of shallow, short, and quick breathing. Essentially, we're robbing our bodies of good quality and quantity of oxygen. So deep belly breathing, quite the opposite, uses slow, deep breaths that expand our lungs to full capacity. So in this image, you can see how this works. With the chest breathing on the left, just your chest muscles are moving and working. So only the top 1/3 of your lungs have room to expand and fill with air. However, in the belly breathing on the right, you have abdominal or belly muscles that as you use them, they pull down and out and expand the cavity that your lungs live in, therefore giving your lungs room to fully inflate. Now, deep belly breathing is also huge for another reason. Using slow, deep breaths, especially when the exhale is longer than the inhale, helps to turn off your fight or flight system and turn on the relaxation system in your body. So our fight or flight system is a part of our nervous system that is turned on in high moments of stress, historically being life-threatening situations, as you see here in this graphic. Think primitive times of hunter-gatherers. As the system kicks on in your body, it puts you on high alert with a heightened sense of awareness, and it goes into a life-saving mode where it directs blood away from non-important parts of your body, like your arms or legs, and redirects that blood to your internal organs. In short, this fight or flight response is great to have on when your life is in imminent danger or when you need to think and react quick on the road to avoid a collision. But here's the important part. This system is not meant to stay on. It is meant to turn on to save your life and then turn quickly back off so your body can recover. However, as we've evolved as humans and our daily stressors have switched from being chased by a mountain lion to the more daily nagging and constant stressors, as Andrew outlined, such as stress from weather or finances, our fight or flight systems are now constantly on overdrive and they never get shut off. So why is this such a bad thing for our bodies? Negative impacts of our fight or flight system always being on, because we're all in constant states of stress from little things, is that this chronically has our heart rate elevated. It's poorly distributing our blood and oxygen throughout our whole body, right? Because it's trying to direct it to just our internal organs. And it keeps you awake and alert at night and impacts your sleep. It backs up and slows your digestive system. It halts necessary hormone production and tissue rebuilding and so much more. In short, your body isn't built to handle being in this constant stress state. The good news is that by doing some focused belly breathing, being mindful that our exhale is longer than our inhale, our body automatically switches off this fight or flight system and turns on our relaxation system. So how do we do this? To make that system shut off, we want to make sure that we are extending our belly muscles to breathe rather than moving or puffing up our chest to breathe. So to check yourself, you can lie on the ground and put your hand or an object. I used a pen, but something larger like a magazine also works. And you want to put that on your stomach. If the object moves up and down as you breathe, then that's belly breathing. If it doesn't move, you are taking 2 shallow breaths and chest breathing. And you can see what I just outlined in that graphic here. So while there's a lot of different techniques for healthier breathing, the one we're going to practice today is the 2-1-3-1 method. So you inhale for 2, you hold for 1, and you slowly exhale for 3, then hold for 1 count again. Emphasizing here that the exhale is longer than the inhale. So I want us, as we're all sitting in our homes right now, to practice that. We're going to switch off our fight or flight response, relax our mind and body. So we want to breathe in for 1, 2, and hold that breath, and then slowly release that breath in 3, 2, 1. Hold it, and then repeat that. So the key here is consistency. The more times throughout your day that you can take a moment, be conscious about this. Think about, oh, maybe I could try that breathing technique I learned the other day. So throughout your day, try to repeat this cycle a few times. The more times that you can repeat this and think about this throughout your day and try to do it, the better your body will actively respond to the calming effects and be able to relax by it. So use this specifically in moments where you feel your stress increasing or as you try to fall asleep at night. YouTube is a great resource for some additional guided breathing techniques if you want someone to walk you through it. Now that we're all relaxed from our breathing, we will now be moving into the section of chronic pain and the management of it through lifestyle changes. So chronic pain, or pain that is recurrent and lasting longer than 3 to 6 months, can negatively impact all areas of one's daily life and activities. In 2016, the CDC reported that roughly 20% of American adults were living with chronic pain, though other research has shown even above that, being 50 to 60%. On the farm, chronic pain can slow down one's ability to keep up with farm life, creating further physical and mental distress, which acts as a catalyst for increased pain. Causes of chronic pain can range from wear and tear on one's body and joints over the years, lifting and stress on the body, conditions such as arthritis or fibromyalgia, and many others. While there are medical options such as the use of anti-inflammatory medications, which can be discussed with one's doctor, discussed here will be the use of non-pharmacological or non-drug related pain interventions. These are meant to increase one's level of functioning and activity and improve overall health by managing pain, as it is one of the most underestimated healthcare problems, as portrayed with the iceberg analogy here. So let's take a step back for a minute and discuss the differences between acute and chronic pain. So acute pain is a one-time event or exacerbation, such as a sprained ankle or dislocated shoulder. With this type of acute pain, typically doctors will have you rest, ice, and use pain medications. Historically, this was what was also tried in helping to heal chronic pain. The researchers and health professionals are quickly finding out that this same treatment strategy isn't working for chronic pain as it does for acute pain. And why should it? They are very different types of pain and they affect the body differently, so they should be treated differently. Chronic pain may have an unclear start time, or perhaps it grew as a result of unresolved acute pain. Chronic pain is consistently a problem, such as low back pain, and it doesn't have an easy fix. While ice can help it if it's an exacerbation of your chronic pain or there's acute swelling, heat is typically more helpful when dealing with consistent chronic pain. Using heat packs can help warm up muscles and joints, increase the flow of oxygen and blood to that area, which can help in healing, increase pain tolerance, and relax the stiffness of joints. If you know that you have a busy day ahead of you, it may be a good idea to use heat on your joint or area of chronic pain, such as a hip or low back, for 10 to 15 minutes prior to activity to prep your joints and muscles. Though I do have to say, it's always a good idea to check with your doctor before implementing any of these changes. Other key aspects of chronic pain need to be addressed through lifestyle changes, mindfulness strategies, and incorporating movement into your day. So now we're going to talk about the benefits of movement on pain. Pain often comes in the form of stiff and achy joints, often tricking us into thinking that movement of these joints would make our pain worse, when likely movement is actually what's needed. Our joints have a lubricating fluid that is released as your joint moves. So as we move and our heart rate increases, that means our heart is pumping more and increasing circulation of blood throughout our bodies, which that blood, as it circulates, brings nutrients and oxygen to our joints that are aching. Some quick and easy ways to add movement to our day is by taking mini breaks from stationary activities. There's apps on our phones and smartwatches where there's built-in features to act as reminders, so at least once every hour, you get up and move. When possible, work while you're standing up rather than sitting at a desk, and change your body position often. For farmers who grow crops, planting and harvest time can be a busy season, and your body takes a toll from the long and bumpy tractor and combine rides. Make it a priority to get out of the cab and move around. When you're refilling the planter or dumping the combine, Don't just sit there and watch the other guys helping you out. Get out when you can. And when that's not possible, do some simple exercises and stretches while you're sitting in the cab. While research and health professionals have been preaching the benefits of movement, companies are starting to recognize that the health and success of their company is dependent on the health of their workers. Some landscape companies are now giving the first 30 minutes of their day to workers to stretch. Adding more movement to your day doesn't have to be big. Just get up and walk around or stretch a bit after spending a while sitting. Going off of that, we're going to talk about how exercise, which is a little bit more than just movement, can help to relieve this chronic pain. So earlier in this presentation, we talked about how physical activity and exercise are good for general health and wellness, but they are also a huge part in managing chronic pain. Exercising is a leading intervention in health research for effectively relieving and managing symptoms in those who suffer from chronic pain. So done regularly, exercise assists in decreasing inflammation, which is a major cause of pain. Exercising can also assist in decreasing stress, as exercises releases endorphins, which is endorphins are neurotransmitters that block pain signals in your body and produce feelings of happiness. Reduced stress here in this case equals reduced pain. So gentle stretching of painful muscles has also been found to be beneficial in reducing pain in a similar manner as exercise. So while strict and clear-cut guidelines don't exist for the gold standard of fitness type and duration in terms of pain management, regular engagement 2 to 3 times per week of low to moderate intensity exercise has been found most beneficial in terms of chronic pain management. And for those who are overwhelmed with the idea of adding exercise and fitness into their daily routine, focus first by simply adding more movement throughout the day, as it's more beneficial to have regular movement throughout your day than planning for just one big burst of exercise and then relaxing or sitting the rest of the day.
That concept of moving throughout the day and moving to kind of work out some pain instead of introduce new pain is really exciting to me, because I think of both Leah and I have had some clinical experience. Obviously, as she touched on, you should listen to your doctor and their specific recommendations on any specific condition you have. But I can think of times when I've known people who have had ACL or significant surgeries, and most people think of when you have a surgery like that, you're going to be resting for a long time. Well, actually, a lot of times people who have those surgeries are encouraged to move the day of, when it's like a ligament issue. Just like a sprained ankle, sometimes the best rest isn't actually rest itself. It's coordinated movements in order to bring and flush out that pain. And so to talk a little bit more about chronic pain, Leah talked about exercise as it relates to chronic pain. I want to kind of talk about the mindset around chronic pain. I know myself, I've actually had kind of a bum shoulder for a number of years, and I have to tell myself that if I have had pain for 2 or 3 years and I haven't changed anything, I'm going to continue to have that same pain unless I change something. So if you've had a chronic back injury, and a lot of times with these nagging injuries, they're not bad enough that we need to go to the doctor. Sometimes we feel. A lot of times with these nagging injuries, we think they're just going to go away. But if they haven't went away over a long period of time, right, something needs to change. And it takes energy in order to form good habits and these exercises and these stretches that we're talking about in order to find a new way forward. And that new way forward to help with your chronic pain, developing some sort of routine to do that, should be formed by your healthcare professionals and by scientific evidence. It's also important to get specific recommendations about exercise and lifting. So a lot of times we hear from healthcare professionals that we, need to get up and move more, need to do more exercise. Don't let it rest at those kind of broad and general terms. Get a specific recommendation. Leah outlined some broad guidelines that would apply to a lot of people and that are recommended for all Americans. But if you have the chance, ask someone specifically What would work for you? And if you're in an agricultural setting, you can contact AgriBility, and they can help you out with some assistive technology solutions for around your workplace to help out with chronic pain. That's one of the big things that AgriBility does, and they're really good at it. So don't hesitate to reach out to them about that as well. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the importance of rest. Rest is not only sleep, it's also taking a break from movement and taking appropriate breaks from movement. So movement and rest should be done in balance. Leah talked about if you've spent a long time sitting, moving some. If you've spent a long time moving, you should also rest some. As you can see at the bottom, sleep and rest and exercise have a really positive feedback mechanism where exercise is scientifically proven to help people sleep better. And you all know probably from personal experience, when you sleep better, you have more energy for the day. And if you have more energy of the day, you're more likely to exercise. And then again, you'll sleep better, and it kind of feeds off itself like that. One note on chronic pain and balancing this rest and this activity and movement is sometimes people with chronic pain can kind of overdo it on good days. I know myself, I talked about my shoulder. When my shoulder's feeling good, I try to fit in everything that I've always wanted to do in one day. And sure enough, the next day, I'm having a bad day. And sometimes people with chronic pain, when they're having kind of a bad day, they're having an achy joint or their back is really flaring up, you can kind of underdo it and say, well, I'm just going to rest it all today. And Leah talked about the importance of movement. Rest doesn't always mean lying on your back and lying down. Rest and movement can really play a big role in helping with your chronic pain. It's also important to note that along with this movement being consistent, your rest and your sleep should be consistent. So a lot of times people are unsure whether naps in the middle of the day are good. As long as you're not taking a really long nap that you're kind of substituting in for your night's sleep, a 20 to 30 minute nap in the middle of the day is probably a sign that you needed it and that your body is just recharging. So don't feel badly, if you were working on something and you took a 25-minute nap, great, you're probably recharged and ready to go. So those are just things to keep in mind when you're thinking about rest, balance, and chronic pain. I also wanted to touch on diet. We're not going to go deeply into it, but diet along with movement is really important in the course of managing chronic pain. Your diet and eating the proper foods can help you lose weight or manage your weight properly. It can also help decrease inflammation. So just like exercise and getting your blood flowing can decrease inflammation, so can eating certain foods. And one note is, we all hear this when we're young, you are what you eat, but it really is true. If you're eating potato chips all day and you're eating really greasy foods, you're gonna feel greasy, and your cells on a molecular level are taking in a lot of fat. So over time, that will play itself out. If you're eating good, positive, healthy foods, and you have a real balance in your diet, you're gonna have real balance in your day. You're gonna have real smooth energy throughout the day. And we're talking about all this because I know that everybody is trying to pack their days full of everything they can. We all have really important work. We all love the work we do. We all have families. We're trying to see our families, and we're trying to, do hobbies, and we're all trying to jam pack this into our days, into our weeks. And so rest and proper diet and even proper exercise all play a role in us living positive, healthy, happy lives. It's also important to take with you healthy snacks throughout the day. So we all may not be going out as much as we normally do, but throughout the day, it's a really good idea to have some healthy snacks, some quick and easy energy sources that aren't negative, that are positive. You can see the plate on the right here, the proportions of food that a plate and a meal would have. You can see that vegetables and fruits are more than half of that. And grains and protein are a little bit less than half or exactly half. So those are just some things to keep in mind with your diet. A link below, you can follow that link to see dietary guidelines on an anti-inflammatory diet, which is kind of a decreased swelling diet, where if you have pain in a joint, a lot of times is where inflammation shows itself. Eating certain foods can help relieve that. I'd also like to ask everybody, while we're on this topic of health, exercise, rest, I'd like everybody to message in the chat if you have a routine or an exercise that you really like, that's kind of a part of your week. You know, if you really like walking on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, if that's part of your cycle in your week, I'd love to hear about it. I'd like to ask everybody to put that in the chat, so we can kind of bounce off everybody's ideas and see what other people are doing. I think it would be pretty cool. So as you can see here, walking, swimming, cycling, stair climbing, strength training, dancing, yoga, and Pilates have all been proven to decrease pain when done regularly. So people think about exercise as being painful. Sometimes it may be, but when you do it consistently, it's not as painful, and it can help relieve some of these conditions. Do the exercises that you like. You know, exercise in these healthy lifestyles don't have to be a punishment. They can be a very positive thing in your life. So do what you like and do what is motivating and enjoyable for you. And you can consider multiple types of exercises in order to, one, maintain interest so it's not as boring if you find it boring. And also it'll kind of avoid muscle injuries, especially joint overuse. Doing the same motions, if you're running, if you're a consistent runner, over time that will start to hurt your joints. But overall, much better to do it than not to do it. But consider building in some variety into it. And lastly, I ask, it's really important to build into the exercises that you do. A lot of times around New Year's, people have some really ambitious New Year's plans to lose weight, to start exercising, to start doing this and that. And a lot of times, no matter what it is, people go really big, really quickly, and then they burn out. It's not sustainable, and they're either sore the next day, they don't have enough time the next day, they sacrifice on sleep. So with all these healthy lifestyles, really build into it. Start small. Don't just get discouraged if you have an off day, but build and build and build and try to do better and better and better. And soon enough, I think you'll find these things in your life, and you really like them in your life. As I just said, really, especially if you're going into weight training, keep it lower weight in order to keep it lower load on joints. If you struggle with chronic pain, this is a big note for you. And keep the intensity at a level that doesn't aggravate your injury. Really use common sense and feel your body, right? If you have knee pain and a certain activity aggravates your knee pain, find a way to modify that activity or find a new activity that maybe is just as positive and that you enjoy just as much but doesn't aggravate your knee. Additionally, stretching can provide relief for things like low back pain and stiffness. I talked about this a lot last week on our exercise and stretches portion. Again, consistency is really key with these stretches. If you do them consistently, you're really going to start to see results. And the problem areas, if you're targeting them correctly with these stretches, are going to start to go away, hopefully. And so kind of as we're wrapping up, we want to drive home a couple of key points. Remember body mechanics. Remember good posture and use this good posture. Things like keeping your head back, keeping your shoulders back, and sitting up and standing up straight. Think about those things as you move through your day, even as you don't move through your day and maybe you're sitting. Move often. So avoid long periods of sitting, whether it's driving or sitting at a desk. Find a reason to get up and move. You'll feel better and your body will thank you for it long term. Think about your breathing. As Leah said, we take 10,000 breaths a day. A lot of times we take these breaths kind of for granted. Think about your breathing when you're having some sort of hardship, and it will really kind of relieve some stress and also be a positive thing. It'll be healthy for your body. And lastly, with all of these things, be mindful and aware of your own body. No one knows your body like you do. You know the problem areas, you know the pain, and you know your diet and sleep activities. So hopefully throughout these presentations, you've been taking in information, and you can use that information and your awareness of your own body to try and form healthier habits. And if you can do that, then Leah and myself and our whole team will be absolutely ecstatic. We'd love to hear from you, and I know I'm gonna need to try and use some of these things in my life as well. I got to work on. I've been eating too many Chips Ahoy recently for snacks, so that's something I need to work on. And everybody has their things. So I really want to say thanks. This presentation was courtesy of Ohio Agribility and the Ohio State College of Food and Agricultural Sciences. Thanks to Dr. Jepson, the leader of our team, Laura Ackerman, Dr. Megan Amaya, and Josh Wynn for helping form this. Definitely thank you to Dr. Leah Schwinn. She has been a constant companion in the formation of these presentations and has been an incredible resource for me as we go through. For more information about Agribility, you can visit agribility.osu.edu. For these presentations specifically, you can visit agribility.osu.edu/resources/fitness-farm-life. And to watch replays of these Fitness for Farm Life presentations, you can hit that link below. So above, you can find fact sheets and other resources in that middle link, and at the bottom link, you can watch these replays. I'm going to check the chat now to see what people have been talking about, but I want to thank everybody for stopping in to this webinar.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Leah. We have not really received any chats or questions, but we were getting some good exercises like walking and gardening, running and lifting and biking. And so I think you inspired them to think about more intentionally thinking about walking and using those exercises that they can incorporate every day. We're getting some other messages coming in. We did put in our link in the chat box. If you want to download the link to where all of these webinars are housed, you can have a quick link there. Otherwise, we want to thank everybody for bearing with us for these last 3 weeks. And as we're heading into more gardening and more summer activities, be fit and be well on your farm. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.